My expectation is that Trump is not doing 2, 3, 4, 5 hours with Joe Rogan. I think it's going to be kept short because we know Trump is exhausted. We know the longer Trump is allowed to speak, especially in these formats where it's relatively extemporaneous and unstructured, the more likely it is he says something absolutely disastrous.
By actually a great guy. I didn't know him too well, but I got to know him because it was the longest interview I've ever done in my life. Joe Rogan, a good guy.
She's as funny as Lucy and she's in the know. She's as smart as Phil and always on the go. It's the Patsy Hoolahan Show.
I'm sure Trump will put his foot in it, put his foot in his mouth. There's no doubt about it. But because, as we know, Trump is putting his foot in his mouth every day, sometimes multiple times a day, I struggle to think that the Rogan interview will really move the needle one way or the other, but...
Well, the liberals are just really freaking out here again. Donald Trump went on the Joe Rogan show, and David Pakman here didn't think he could make 20 minutes, but he did the full 3 hours and did a pretty ass-kicking job, if you ask me. And then other liberals, like some guy I'm going to have next, is going to be upset that he was late to his rally because he was doing the Joe Rogan show. Well, you know, Joe Rogan is like the most popular podcaster on the internet, so it was really important for him to do it. And they're trying to say that he dissed his followers and they all left the rally. Well, I'm sure they're still voting for him, so I don't think it's going to go anywhere.
Last night, Donald Trump had a political rally in Michigan, to which he was hours and hours and hours late for, angering his constituency, the people who would take time out of their days, out of their lives, out of their schedules to go to a Trump rally. He's stepping on his Arnold Palmer and pissing him off. For CBS News posted video of what is being reported as hundreds of people abandoning ship and going back to their cars.
Interviewed by actually a great guy. I didn't know him too well, but I got to know him because it was the longest interview I've ever done in my life. Joe Rogan, a good guy. And it's, it's quite something, and we had some other things really important. And I said, we're going to get this stuff done. And my people came to me, sir, we could cancel our evening event. I'm sure the people wouldn't mind. I said, are you crazy? I'm not canceling. There's no way. I'm not canceling. There's no way. We never even... So I apologize, but it's all about winning. We got to win, and we did some things today that will help us win. I think we did a lot of taping, a lot of this, a lot of that, a lot of everything.
All right, we're rolling. Good to see you, sir. Here we go. One of the things I wanted to talk to you about, I wanted to play this, but we decided we shouldn't play it because it could get copyright struck, and we don't want to get the episode. We don't want anybody to have any sort of a way to get it down.
Sure.
But it was the episode of you when you were on The View, and I think it was 2015 or 2006, like when you were running for president.
Right.
And you got introduced as our friend Donald Trump.
That's right.
Whoopi Goldberg gives you a big hug and a kiss. Joy Behar gives you a big hug. Barbara Walters gives you a big hug. They all loved you. They were all talking about how you might be conservative in your financial positions, but you're very liberal socially. They were talking about you as such a favorable light. The audience was cheering. And then you actually started winning in the polls, and then the machine started working towards you.
Yeah.
But there's probably no one in history that I've ever seen that's been attacked the way you've been attacked, and the way they've done it so coordinated and systematically. When you see those same people in the past, very favorable to you, like Oprah, when you were on Oprah's show,
very.
She was encouraging you.
Last week I did one of her last shows, I think maybe Thursday or Friday. That was a big deal, being on Oprah's show, the last one. And I was like one of the last shows in that final week. And I said, boy, we've come a long way since...
You know, I looked all over the internet and I could not find those clips from The View from 2015. It's like they don't want us to even know that it actually really happened.
Take on a few of the candidates. Remember, I need this job, okay? Donald Trump.
Well, you know, Donald and I are like this. We're pals. I saw him at the Adele concert.
Are you being facetious? Or...
No,
okay,
sorry,
okay.
Last week I saw him on the Adele, and I went
on the Adele
concert at the Radio City Music Hall. Well, she was phenomenal, by the way. What a singer!
Yeah, she's
oh my
great.
God, I would kill for a voice like that.
Yeah. So you see Donald
So
at
I
the
see
Adele concert.
Donald over there, and Steve says to me, "Go over and talk to Donald, my husband, because he's pushy like that." So I say to him, "Oh, really?" He says, "Just go talk to him. Donald couldn't be nicer to me. Oh, it's so nice to see you,
Even all
Melania."
the stuff that you guys have said about him on The View.
I haven't said anything that bad. The worst thing I ever said to him about him was that he's not the worst one. How's that? Worst thing I've ever said. And I agree with him on a few things.
Yeah.
He's more like a Democrat than a Republican on some issues and some not. So I went over and I spoke to him, and he's coming on. He's supposed to be coming on our show too.
A lot of wild shit.
Maybe.
He said a lot of wild shit, and then CNN, in all their brilliance, by highlighting your wild shit, made you much more popular.
Yeah.
And they boosted you in the polls because people were tired of someone talking in this bullshit, pre-prepared politician lingo. And even if they didn't agree with you, they at least knew whoever that guy is, that's him. That's really him. Yeah. When you see certain people talk, certain people in the public eye, you don't know who they are. You have no idea who they are. It's very difficult to know. You see them in conversations. They have these pre-planned answers. They say everything. It's very rehearsed. You never get to the meat of it. One of the beautiful things about you is that you freeball. Like, you get out and you do these huge events and you're just talking and you're making. We've highlighted you on the show many times when you did this Biden impression where he's walking around, he doesn't know what he's doing. It's funny. It's stand up. It's funny stuff. But it's like you were making fun of Elon one time. You're doing an Elon impression. It's great. You have like comedic instincts. Like when you said to Hillary, "You'd be in jail." Like it's great timing.
Yeah.
But it's like that kind of stuff was unheard of as a politician. Like no one had done that. And I think...
You know, it's funny, you need at least the attitude of a comedian. You need at least the attitude of a comedian when you're doing this business. This is a very dangerous business, first of all. It's a very tough business.
It's the most dangerous business.
It's the most, for a job?
Yes. I mean, other than going to war and being a firefighter or being a cop, it's the most dangerous business.
It's the most dangerous. Being president is the most dangerous.
Especially you. I mean, you haven't even got to the election. There's been 2 assassination attempts. And they've brushed those out of the news like it was nothing.
Yeah, they'd rather not talk about them.
Imagine if there was assassination attempts on Biden, how hard people would be attacking the right, how they would be trying to get guns taken away from people. They would try to ramp up gun laws. They would try to figure out some way to blame you. If there was attacks if Biden got shot in the ear, we would have never heard the end of it.
We're dealing with the smartest people. They hate when I say, when I call President Xi, they said, he called President Xi brilliant. Well, he's a brilliant guy. He controls 1.4 billion people with an iron fist. I mean, he's a brilliant guy, whether you like it or not. And they go crazy.
Right, it doesn't mean he's not evil, or it doesn't mean he's not
of course not.
Dangerous.
But actually, we have evil people in our country.
Yes.
If you have a smart president, he can deal with Russia, he can deal with all of it. Russia would have never gone into Ukraine if I were president.
How would you have stopped it?
Automatic, 2 things. I told him. I said, Vladimir, you're not going in. I used to talk to him all the time. You're not going in. I can't tell you what I told him because I think it would be inappropriate, but someday he'll tell you. But he would have never gone in. But you know why else he wouldn't have gone in? Oil prices at $40 a barrel wouldn't have allowed him, wouldn't have given him the money to prosecute that war, wouldn't have given him the money. I said it with I was with President Xi. I said it was almost the same conversation. With Vladimir, it was Moscow. With President Xi, it was Beijing. It was almost the exact same conversation. I said, don't do it. He would have never done it. The day I left, they flew 28 bombers over the middle of Taiwan. 28 bombers. And it's the apple of his eye, and the same thing with Russia. It's the apple. Ukraine is the apple of his eye. I used to talk to him. I had a very good relationship with him. He wouldn't have done it. He would have never done it. But he also wouldn't have done it because of Theo. You know, one of the reasons that what happened is, number one, he doesn't respect Biden at all. Not even a little bit. And who the hell would? But he doesn't respect him. But when he saw what happened in Afghanistan, how horribly that was handled, number one, you take the soldiers out last, not first. Okay, that was their big mistake. And we had that thing charted out, and they weren't obeying us. They weren't. Abdul is the head of the Taliban. Boom, boom, he had to do all these things. Some he didn't do. I said, nope, you got to do them all. This guy he immediately took he left the equipment behind. 13 soldiers did, but he took everybody out. He took his soldiers out before. A child would know. That's where Milley was so stupid. He was such a stupid guy, Milley. Okay, those generals should have all been fired. The people that were involved with Afghanistan should have all been fired. Then they'd be writing books about him, how stupid he was and bad he was. But you take your soldiers out last. I had a big rally, and I saw a child in the front row about a year and a half ago, and I called the child up. I said, do you mind if I borrow your child? Oh, yes, please. And they came up, kids 5 years. I gave them quick details, you know. I said, we want to get out of this place. Then we have this, and we have this, and we have the equipment. I gave them a little thing. I said, do you take your soldiers out first or last after everything's done? You take them out last, sir. A child would know that.
Well, I would strongly recommend you watch the whole podcast with Joe Rogan and Donald Trump. It was quite interesting. I think the moral to the story is that, you know, you can hate Trump and all that stuff, but all these commercials where they're trying to say that he has dementia and he has no cognitive brain cells and he can't keep his energy level going, it's just not true. He is like the Energizer Bunny, and he keeps going and going. Everything they've done to him, and he's still going and going and going. Like him or not, you have to admit, there's something really special about this guy. Who knows what it is, but stay tuned, and shortly we're going to know how this whole story ends.